Yesterday, the Japanese video game media outlet Gematsu released the trailer for a new title. A Chinese video game developed by the people at NetEase. Later on, we'll talk about who these people are. The trailer lasted 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Well, let's see. Video game trailers are released every day, and I frequently watch video game trailers, so I figured one more wouldn't hurt, even though a 5-minute one is fairly lengthy. I started watching the trailer, and after 2 minutes, I understood everything. We're looking at a Chinese God of War Assassin's Creed. We've known for a while that the Chinese video game industry has been making a strong impact. We've had Black Myth, Wukong making waves, and we've seen the introduction of many Chinese hack and slash, Souls-like, and similar games. Well, now we have the presentation of a Chinese God of War Assassin's Creed. How did I come to that conclusion? Well, through subjectivity. I have a suggestion for you. Let's watch the trailer together. We'll react to it, even though I've already seen it several times. I'll comment on what I find, what I've noticed, and then we'll talk in depth about the title. The trailer starts with a cinematic scene in the desert, which doesn't reveal too much, because, well, it's a 5-minute trailer. So obviously they wanted to give it a kind of movie-like introduction. But the trailer does give us some context. We're right in the middle of the desert itself. And our hero appears in the distance, though he's more than just a hero, really. After doing some research and understanding what the game's story is about, our character, our protagonist, is a messenger. It seems that in this game, our protagonist is given the task of traveling extremely long distances to deliver a message. The name of the video game is essentially Blood Message or the Bloody Message. And we understand that this message our protagonist is going to deliver is actually a declaration of war, or a very important message or something like that. Is it enough reason for this person to cross all of China swinging his sword around? And here we have to stop. We have to stop now because the action is happening. Let's go back a bit. What we're seeing on screen is the name of the studio that's developing the game. I'm going to tell you about this studio in detail, but I'll tell you now that they've already released a game. This would be their second video game. Well, the presentation of the world, at least the first glimpse we get, is right here. A giant open world with cities, with stealth mechanics and assassin mechanics. Basically, because that's what our protagonist just did. He has a Chinese name that sounds like it's from Assassin's Creed, but I don't know what it is. That thing about taking someone from behind, ambushing them, jumping from above, dropping down on them. And at the same time, those cinematics of throwing yourself and things getting destroyed. And running away from pursuers, chasers, pursuers. Well, it really reminded me a lot of Assassin's Creed, at least for me. And at the same time, other aspects of the combat shown in this trailer, like these, also remind me of God of War. To those sequences where Kratos faces off against an enemy, and he lands certain blows, and you keep controlling the enemy's position until you bring him to a certain spot. An annihilation cutscene occurs, strongly reminding me of something. I'm not sure if you'll agree. By this point, they've more or less introduced us to the world, they've more or less introduced us to the combat, they've introduced our character, they've introduced his mission, which is to deliver a letter. And at this point, we're not even halfway through the trailer. Let's continue. We have enemies, we have hordes, we have that typical fighting scenario, very typical of Assassin's Creed, where we face several enemies. And actually, they're all just waiting to see when we're going to fight them, so they don't all attack us at the same time. And we have these action transitions that also remind me of God of War. They've been in other games and other things, but to me they remind me of God of War. China appears to be a significant character in the story based on her increased presence in the trailer from this point onward. I don't know if we're going to have two protagonists or what. For now, we've only seen the man fight, but this woman, she's remarkable and carries a sword. Everything that's fire, lighting, lights and shadows, darkness, caverns, burning places, and so on. It looks spectacular. And it seems like we're going to be exploring ruins and ancient places, solving riddles and puzzles, just like we do in God of War. The game includes action, story, cinematic, and puzzle elements. If this person's journey is all across China, as they say, then of course we're going to go through frozen climates, tropical climates, deserts, and so on. This part too. The fire looks beautiful. In this part, we see how man crushes the wheel of a cart to give way to another sequence. Probably an action scene or something like that, or we see ourselves climbing or taking zip lines or things like that. And they also remind me a lot of the action sequences from God of War. Sequences that put you right in the middle of the fights, like to move from one side to another, or from one place to another, or from one part of the fight to another. Everything looks spectacular, but the quality of the trailer is incredible. Just so you know, the game was developed using Unreal Engine 5 as its graphics engine. And the one we just saw is the first trailer for the game Blood Message. So now comes a little post-credits part where they show you a bit more. I don't know if this has any particular meaning for the Chinese because they show, I think it's a Buddha. And I don't know if this will have any significance in the game's story. Or is it trying to tell us something? Because there it is. For some reason, they show this part and then reveal a painting. I also think it's from a fight or something similar, which surely provides historical context to the game, context that maybe we are not understanding. Well, if anyone understands the context of the game, or anything about what was shown historically, or any element, or if someone is a historian, let us know in the comments what we're seeing. Those comments would really help us. I had mentioned to you 24 Entertainment, the studio that was developing this game and that presented us with this trailer. Well, this studio, many of you might already know it, because they developed and published a video game that became somewhat popular due to its release on Game Pass, and because it was launched as a game as a service some time ago. The game I'm referring to is the one you're seeing on screen. It's called Naraka Blade Point, and it's a kind of battle royale or an online multiplayer ninja game. It's about Chinese warriors, not ninjas. The game was released first as a kind of early access or Game Pass early access, and then it was released as free to play. Currently, if you want to play this video game, it's available as free to play on consoles and PC. The game invites you to drop into a large open world full of players and computer-controlled enemies. Defeat different enemies, get loot, weapons, upgrades, and more to try to be the last team standing. I remember trying it out when it was released, and it was pretty good, but well, I just tried it to cover the launch of the title, and then I never played it again. Nevertheless, the game is still alive. Whether I play it or not, I'm not that important. And it kept getting updates and other things. Today it's alive and kicking. And it seems that this success gave the studio what it needed. Enough to develop the title we saw at the beginning, the one called Blood Message. A title that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is being published by NetEase. The Chinese company that only publishes mobile games? Yeah, those guys. In fact, if we go to the NetEase website right now, we can see that they just added it. This is currently happening, and we can see all the titles NetEase has previously published. Like, well, Fragpunk the shooter is also theirs. Well, a lot of Chinese games, a lot of mobile experience too, and a lot of online multiplayer. What do these people do? In fact, they're the ones who made Once Human. That game didn't turn out very well for them. Okay, if we go to the game's website, there are scenes from the title that we hadn't seen before. Well, here we are scrolling through the Blood Message page, which has... The page has a cinematic feel. Scrolling down introduces the character. There's a Chinese girl named Via Atreus, also known as Chinese Atreus. We have no idea who she is, and it's clear we still won't know who she is. And here we have the unveiling of the painting, which obviously means something. I would love for you to put it in English, at least what I'm seeing. We've already seen this fight scene, so it doesn't add anything new. This looks spectacular, it looks beautiful, the camera work, the character's face, the whole scene seems beautiful to me. It has a distinctive Unreal Engine look, as most games made with it have a similar aesthetic, but it's very well done. We have screenshots from the game, okay? It looks a lot like the page that was set up for Black Myth Wukong when the video game came out. A page that showed us a lot of scenery and above all objects. And little things from their culture. The painting is there again. Let's find out what it means. Well, it looks like they're growing forbidden plants there. Chinese, so mischievous. A lot of arrests. Well, temples, this thing that showed up at some point, that looks like a puzzle, a Buddha. And there's a lot of desert, a whole lot. This is the door they open at the beginning of the trailer. I'm curious about what it says there. Let's see, can we translate it? Complete the questionnaire for a chance to be selected for early access to the game. Bah! Are they already planning an early access? Ah, I could have put it in English. My God, incredible, huh? I love how everything looks. I love how the hair on the suit's leather looks. I like the animations. I like everything. After doing some research on the video game, I found the historical context in which the blood message takes place. And it turns out that the game takes place in the year 848 before Christ, in the midst of the dynasty's decline. Yes, Tang, just like Tang Juice. And the character we saw in the trailer turns out to obviously be the protagonist, and the boy who accompanies him is indeed his son. And the mission of these two will be to cross about 1,000 kilometers of Chinese landscapes, all the way to the imperial capital of what at that time was the Tang dynasty. Supposedly because we are carrying a valuable message with us. This is pretty crazy because as I'm making the video, new information about the title keeps emerging. And I'm finding things out. But what I already recorded before I already recorded, so I'm going to leave it like that. From the outlet Gematsu, which is the original outlet that published this trailer before the rest of the media. They mentioned that the title is a single-player story. And in fact, they make references to Uncharted and God of War. And in addition, they confirm that the development is currently being planned for PC and consoles, although they don't specify which consoles. Probably because they still don't have any deals finalized, and they don't give us any release date. In short, the release date is unknown. This is the first AAA single-player video game published by NetEase, and it's a big bet on this type of development. Are they the most purchased, or the most played or consumed on this side of the world? Yes, that's fine. In Asia, they also play single-player games and things like that. But it's like here we prefer those kinds of stories about the hero development and so on. And maybe it's a bold move by NetEase to make a strong entrance on this side of the world. Because NetEase, well, they're very important globally. But in Asia, they're extremely important. They might want to replicate some of the success that the Black Myth Wukong video game had. I can imagine PlayStation guys saying, that contract is expiring. It still excites me to see how there are more and more titles, Chinese developments and so on, that focus on single player, on story, on action and all that. And while this game seems to have certain open world aspects, open areas and so on, that's what the developers say. And Gematsu, who was the first to report on this, says that we're looking at a linear single player game. You could say it's like God of War. That's all I have to show you about the title, but I wanted to share it because I really liked it. And I figured you'd think the same, right? Let me know in the comments what you think about this title, and if it gets you even a little bit hyped or at least gives you some hope, at least for traditional gaming. And of course, I invite you to subscribe if you enjoy video game content and curiosity. Tomorrow, news compilation as usual. See you next time. Bye.